It is the first day of Blue Jackets training camp this season. We've got some interesting line combinations, and I'm sure it will shock everyone to know we already have a bunch of injuries to talk about. That's coming up today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Foster. This is my co-host, Hayden Heilson. We are here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube, as well as SiriusXM. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Before we get started, I also want to let you know we're doing a happy hour tonight. So Hayden and I will be going live at about 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. We'll have a couple of adult beverages, and
I'm getting started already.
We'll have some fun. Hayden's already got started. We are not recording this at 9 a.m., we promise. But yeah, so bring some questions. We'll have fun. We'll talk about training camp. We'll talk probably about Mike Babcock a little bit because that's what everyone wants to talk about right now. But for right now, we're going to talk a little bit about training camp because it's only day one, and there's already been some interesting things coming out of the groupings. So I thought we'd start there with what is an extremely weird grouping of defense pairings, Hayden. So let me just pull up the list right now. So the top 6 defensemen right now, so the top 2 pairings on each team, they're split into 3 teams. We've got Provorov Gabranson, we've got Boquist Severson, and we've got Werenski Peak. Jake Bean out with an injury. We'll talk about that in a minute. Nick Blankenburg is playing on the second line of Team 1 with Jake Christensen. David Jiricek is playing on the second line of Team 3 with Tim Burney. And another line that might get some what's the word I want? Some talk is Stanislav Svozil and Marcus Bjork, who are on the second line for Team 2. So there's kind of your top 12 defensemen. Those combos make no sense to me, frankly.
See, I agree with that because I've been studying them all day. I've been looking at them nonstop because I can't find any clips of what's going on at training camp actually. So I see kind of what Pascal is doing here because, well, I honestly don't see what he's doing with Jiricek and Burney. I think Jiricek needs to be up. That is when we were texting about this, Jay. I think you and I both were like, this is kind of frustrating. Like, Jiricek needs to be playing with the big dogs. He's ready to be playing with the big dogs. Tim Burney, he got a lot of NHL experience last year, so it's not like it's setting him back playing with a guy like him, but it's just you wanted to see Jiricek on a top line. But when I look at Boquist and Severson, I kind of see a lot of like sneaky good offense in that because Boquist is, in my eyes, after the season review, probably the best offensive defenseman the Blue Jackets have under the age of like 24. So, and Severson coming over from New Jersey, he could use an offensive boost too because he played with really good defensemen out there. So, I like that one a lot. I like Svozil and Bjork. Bjork has a hard slap shot, and Svozil's a good passer, so he's going to be moving the puck over to him a lot. But was there another one that bothered you? Because definitely the Jiricek Burney one, that one kind of ticked me off a little bit. But outside of that, I thought they were kind of okay.
Yeah, I think it's not it just didn't make sense. And obviously, I want to preface this with, like, it's the first day of training camp. I am 100% sure these will be mixed around and, it's not This is not what the lines are going to look like on opening night. The forwards are a little bit more kind of set, I think. But the defense, it really feels like Pascal Vincent is just like, okay, let's try some things. But yeah, I agree. I would have put Jiricek up with Werenski instead of Peak. I do think having Jake Bean out does clear the way for Jiricek to maybe take that step. But I also wonder if this is Pascal saying to Jiricek, hey, we want to see more from you. You know, he's going to be driving that pairing in a way that he probably wouldn't be driving it if he was playing with a guy like Werenski or with a guy like Provorov. Provorov Gabranson is an interesting one to me.
That was the one. The other one.
I don't know that Provorov should be playing that low in the lineup, and I don't know that Granson should be playing that high in the lineup, depending on whether that's, you know, a prospective second or third pairing. But yeah, it was mostly the Jiricek, and I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, more training camp will have happened, and they'll have shuffled the pairings around, and will look stupid for
even talking about this, right?
Like we're talking about this, but yeah,
we're talking about practice lineups.
I want to see more from Jiricek, and I do wonder if it is that he wants Jiricek to be the driving force of a pairing as opposed to being the support player to a guy like Werenski.
Yeah, I do think the Provorov Gabranson line is really interesting because those are two players that Provorov obviously somewhat of the prize in the offseason in the sense that the Blue Jackets, they went out and got him. They invested in this player and are bringing him into the locker room as a kind of like you're replacing, you know, what Vladislav Gavrikov left behind, what, you know, David Savard left behind, you know, like you're a kind of a key cornerstone in this. So to be paired with Erik Gudbranson, who is only really a cornerstone because he's getting paid a lot of money. He's getting paid $4.5 million a year on annual value, 4-year deal. So it's like he's getting paid above what some of the better defensemen under him are getting paid. So it's like I don't know if the problem with that line is Gudbranson or what, but I think maybe what it could be, Jay, is that Pascal knows that Provorov is a very reliable defenseman, both offensively and defensively. And Gudbranson is just there kind of just to take up ice and just kind of be intimidating, which you do need for optics. But the problem is Erik Gudbranson, you and I both agreed, kind of got too much ice time this past year. And the Blue Jackets are going to be relying on Provorov to kind of take minutes. And it's like, do Blue Jackets fans really want to see Erik Gudbranson playing on the top 3 lines? No. We need him kind of down. He can stick around, but like we need to see less of him. The Blue Jackets have too many good defensemen to have Erik Gudbranson out there. Yeah.
I want to talk also. I've lost it. There it is. I want to talk also about the forward pairings, or the forward lines, excuse me, because there are some pretty fun looking ones in here. So with the caveat that these probably will get shuffled around a little bit, but the one that immediately stuck out to me was Texier, Fantilli, Laine. We saw a little clip of that on Twitter, and that looked like a lot of fun. I've kind of been banging the Fantilli Laine drum since I found out that they were living together because I just think that's fun. Texier, I assume, is just kind of standing in for an injured Marchenko, but I like that line a lot. I think Texier adds a little bit of snarl. We know that Fantilli's got a bit of a mean streak in him. We know that Laine is a big body. He doesn't throw it around as much as I think some people would like him to, but he is enormous. And I think that line could bring some size and some skill and a little bit of snarl. And, you know, probably we're going to talk about Texier in a little bit more detail, probably next week, because he was doing really well. In the season, he got injured, which I believe was, hang on, I just had this open. Again, Locked on Blue Jackets, drink. I've lost the tab that I need. In the 2021-22 season, he had 20 points in his first 36 games, including 11 goals. Broke his finger, I believe, and then went back to France for personal matters, and then missed all of last season because he was in the the NHLPA substance abuse and mental health program, I believe is what it's called. I don't know if that's quite the exact phrasing, but he's back. He looks good. He looked healthy. And I think that's really exciting. He looks more mature than when he was here last time. I mean, he's how old now? He is 24 now, so he was only 22 the last time he played in Columbus, and I think that he could be a real secret weapon for this top six.
Oh, he's definitely a secret weapon, Jay. That's when he got introduced to the Blue Jackets, is when he played in the series against Tampa Bay. And it was just his first few games in the league, I believe, was against the Tampa Bay Lightning, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And he didn't miss a beat. Granted, he had completely different players around him. A lot of vets, Nick Foligno, Artemi Panarin. Like, we don't need to go through the list of those guys. If you're listening to Locked On Blue Jackets and you're this far in this episode, you know who those guys are. But he's matured. You're absolutely right. He's still young. He's a player that plays with a lot of confidence. Like, he's not afraid to try the skill move that he might take a shot in an undeserved shot in the head for, because that's the type of player he is. The fire poker move and the shootout, like, all I've thought about the last year that he was gone was the fire poker move and how the Blue Jackets would get in shootouts. And
it is the second coolest way to score a goal, I think, after the Michigan.
Yes. It might be the coolest shootout way to score a goal that I've seen a Blue Jacket do. Panarin's got a pretty good forehand, backhand that is just so nasty. Like, or not Panarin, I'm sorry, Patrik Laine. See, like, yes. This is good. This is good because I think of that team and I'm like, that was the team that can go win the Stanley Cup. And then I'm seeing Patrik Laine toss the puck around with Adam Fantilli, and I'm like, those two together on the ice could be the most dangerous duo in the league. For all I know, for all that I actually know as a person on earth, that could be the highest scoring duo in the NHL this year. I know McDavid and Draisaitl still exist, but for now, I'm just going to believe this. So, yeah, that duo is really exciting. They seem to be getting along great. I loved the comment that Patrik Laine made about, Adam's been the nicest roommate because he's Canadian. That's just it's true, because every time Adam Fantilli's been in front of a microphone, he said nothing but amazing things about the city of Columbus. Even before he actually got drafted here, he was singing praises about the city and about this team. So he's he's the crown jewel of this training camp starting. He's the crown jewel. Adam Fantilli is it's just nice to have him in Nationwide Arena, practicing, getting a feel of the confines that is in the arena district down there. And I'm just so excited to get down there. And games this Sunday, man, we're going to see it all play out, all of the work that they're putting in.
I can't wait for that split series against Pittsburgh on Sunday. It's crept up, hasn't it? I feel like it came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, hockey's back. I want to talk a little bit more about the kind of de facto top line, which was Gaudreau, Jenner, and Kent Johnson. But to do that, we're also going to have to talk about some injuries, because of course we are. And we're going to do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I've got to tell you about Birddogs, because they are the most comfortable things I've ever put on my body. That's not an exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. I love them. I love them so much that it makes me a little bit angry that I can't just wear them all of the time, even though they are good for basically any occasion. I wear them to the rink when I have to go to games. I will wear them when I am lying around the house. I wear them to go on a run. You can wear them to the golf course. If you want to pick your kids up from school, you can wear them in the car on the way there. Like, they are good for basically any occasion. They're comfy, they fit great, they look great. They're made of this like special cloud material that looks exactly like khaki, but is stretchy, and it means that you can, again, do anything you want in your Birddogs. If you want to get your Birddogs, go to birddogs.com, and then if you go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or use promo code LockedOnNHL at checkout, you're going to get a free reusable water bottle with any purchase. And if you know me, you know I love a reusable drinking vessel. Once again, that is birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or promo code LockedOnNHL at checkout to get a free water bottle with any purchase. You won't want to take your Birddogs off, we promise. Okay, we're back with Locked On Blue Jackets, free and available on all podcast platforms, YouTube and SiriusXM. And we're talking about training camp. And because it's the Blue Jackets, we can't talk about hockey without talking about injuries. So before camp even started, some injury news came out. I believe 4 players currently on the shelf. Let me just pull up the
I got
post I
him.
saw. Kirill Marchenko is day-to-day with a back strain. Daniil Tarasov is day-to-day with a knee. As my understanding that if today was a game day, they would both be ready to play. But since it's not, they are resting and trying to get up to 100% before games start. So we likely will not see Marchenko or Tarasov in the beginning of the preseason, which does suck because I was excited for the Marchenko Fantilli Laine pairing, but Texier has been a good substitution there. And then Mathieu Olivier is week to week with, apparently he broke his leg last season and then never said anything until just now. And Jake Bean has an abductor strain and will be week to week also. On top of all of that, first day of training camp, Boone Jenner is involved in a collision with Elvis, goes down and then leaves the ice. Someone said that it looked like he was shaking his hand. Someone else said that he got hit in the chin with the puck. I'm not sure which one it is. We're recording this not long after training camp finished up, so it's a little bit we're not sure what's going on. But Boone Jenner going down with an injury, that brings us to 5 injured players on day 1 of training camp. Which is that not the most Blue Jackets thing in the whole world, Hayden?
This is breaking news to me that Jay just revealed. So this is a live reaction to hearing that my captain of this team that I am about to invest tons of money in this year just got injured. That sucks. But Jay, if I can say something about these 5 players that are injured between Daniil Tarasov, Kirill Marchenko, Jake Bean, Mathieu Olivier, and Boone Jenner, the Blue Jackets can go 2 months without any of these players. They have enough young guys. They survived enough last season that these 5 players who have, in my eyes, played enough hockey in their career that they do not need to be out there for camp. Maybe Tarasov, he should be out on the ice to get some shots because goalies, that was the biggest issue, and I kind of give them a lot of heat this year, but I just feel like a goalie needs every once in a while to be on the ice, get some pucks on you, But outside of that, those 5 guys, they don't need to see the ice for the first month of the season. Let's see what these young guys can do because the center depth is fine. I'm okay with Adam Fantilli. I'm okay with Sean Corrali. I'm okay with Hunter McCown and Cole Sillinger. I'm okay with those 4 guys all getting heavy minutes to start the season because, frankly, that's better than what the Blue Jackets were wheeling out in April last year. So we know that you've said it multiple times, and I completely agree. If you're not in the playoff race by American Thanksgiving, then you're out of it. But let's get these guys healthy. I don't want these guys to get rushed back. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need them right now. We need these guys in December. We need them in January and February to be healthy. So I'm okay with a little bit of load management if that's what it takes. But yeah, not great to see all those names on the injured list, but comforting just knowing that it's just like day-to-day stuff for guys like Marchenko and Tarasov, who the Blue Jackets are going to be leaning on a lot this year.
100%. And I think also this will end up being, if Jenner does end up having to miss time, which again, as of the recording of this podcast, we don't know that. I am assuming that maybe he just took a knock to the chin and maybe needs a couple of stitches, or he took a stinger, or what. We don't know what it is yet. No one has said anything, again, as of the time of recording this, which is Thursday, mid-afternoon-ish. If Jenner does miss time, the Blue Jackets are in a much better place in terms of center depth this season. Texier can play center. Dmitry Voronkov, that we haven't talked about yet, he can play center, obviously bringing in Fantilli. I'm expecting Cole Sillinger to bring a lot of heat in terms of a bounce back season. Something interesting to me, Liam Foodie, Jack Roslovic, and Emil Bemstrom all appear to be on the outside looking in right now. So
yeah,
we'll have to kind of monitor that. But as of right now, it looks like our top 3 centers are going to be Fantilli, Jenner, and Sillinger, barring, Jenner missing time. But yeah, I completely agree. Get healthy. We don't need them to come straight out of the gate October 12th and make it worse. And then, okay, well, we've lost Jenner for 3 months now because he exacerbated an ongoing injury. How many times have we seen that happen? A guy plays injured, makes it worse. That being said,
a million times.
Exactly. That being said, I'm super excited for if this is what the top 6 looks like in game 1. Texier, Fantilli, Line, Goodrow, Jenner, Johnson. I am real excited about that. I don't know how you feel about that, Hayden, but that gives me a warm feeling in my tummy,
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. And the truth is, as I was thinking about this, I'm going to pray that this is the last time that I ever say his name or even give him credit for anything. But I do just wonder, when you get 73, 74, however many players it is at this training camp on the ice together, how much of the last 6 weeks was Mike Babcock maybe pointing out, hey, these 2 players might be good together? That doesn't even matter, obviously, because he's gone. And I'm just going to give Pascal Vincent all the credit on all of these lines. But so far, Jay, I like what I see. I feel like it's creative. It makes sense. There's some fun ones. There's definitely ones that we've already said that we disagree with. But for the most part, the ones that I disagree with are guys that, like Provorov and Gabranson, those guys have played enough NHL games together that when they look at each other, they might not even have had a single conversation before they get on the ice. They should just be able to look at each other and know what's going on, because both of them have logged enough NHL games. So, and then Werenski and Peak, that was one that I'm like, these 2 guys have been with the organization for a long time now, and I think of them in complete opposite lights. I think of Andrew Peak as oh, he's the reason why the Blue Jackets were second in the lotto. And I think of Zach Werenski as, oh, this is the man that's going to carry the flag to the Stanley Cup. But the 2 of them together, I think they can meet in the middle and be a very dangerously good NHL line, barring that Zach Werenski can just stay healthy. That's the thing that I'm thinking about with 8 this year is I need him to play 80 games, 70 games, 60, just play a season, because Provorov, Severson, these guys will, and they're here right now. And this D-core is really, really flashy. And there's a lot of young talent on offense. Trevor Zegras' name is literally being thrown in the mixer for, NHL trades today. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter. In the mix of the Blue Jackets, there's some NHL rumor out there that the Sabres are in hunt for Trevor Zegras. I don't even care about Trevor Zegras. Usually I'm our team should be in the mix for him. I don't even care about him right now. The Blue Jackets have so much young talent at forward. And yes, the D pair, a lot of NHL experience there. And then it's just can they get the goalie right? And with Tarasov being hurt day to day with a knee injury, that sucks. But Aaron Dell is here, and he's a serious contender for that backup position, is what I'm reading. Is he could be Elvis Merzlikins' backup this year.
Yeah, which I wouldn't hate. We've talked about
I wouldn't hate that at all.
Goalie situation a fair amount, and I think it could work. But we'll have to see. Hopefully, we'll get some more training camp information later today, over the weekend, and I believe there is an open scrimmage on Saturday that you should all go to. I don't know if Hayden is planning on going to that, but if he is and you see him,
what time is it? Do you have a time?
Not off the top of my head. I want to say 1 p.m. maybe. But
I'll be there.
We're going to take another quick break. And then when we get back, we've got a couple of young guys on the Blue Jackets that might not be going back to juniors. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a second. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Thank you once again for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you could think of to look. Just Google us and click whichever link you want. I would like to talk about Jordan Dumais and Denton Mateychuk, who are 2 young players for the Blue Jackets organization. They were both drafted last year, one in the first round, one in the third round. Jordan Dumais had, if I will just get the exact number up, Jordan Dumais had 140 points in 64 regular season games, plus 21 points in 15 playoff games for the Halifax Mooseheads. Denton Mateychuk had 65 points in 63 regular season games for the Moose Jaw Warriors in the WHL, and then 8 points in 10 playoff games. There is some argument out there that these two players are too good for Major Junior, and unfortunately, because of the NHL-CHL agreement, they have to turn 20 before they're allowed to play in the AHL. However, earlier this summer, Shane Wright, former 4th overall pick to Seattle Kraken, in the same draft, I believe, actually, was granted exceptional status. If he doesn't make the Kraken, will be playing in the AHL this season as a 19-year-old about to turn 20. I don't know if you have thoughts on this, Hayden, in terms of should Dumais and Matechuk apply for this? Should they get it? Should they go back to junior? Like, do you have, like, how do you feel about this as a potential option?
Oh, it's definitely a potential option. Jordan Dumais, he led the prospect tournament in Traverse City, which we hold so highly. And we talk about, Adam Fantilli having all these amazing stats and, Ken Johnson having great stats and Marchenko having great stats at last year's Traverse City. And they turned into great pros. Jordan Dumais had 8 points in 3 games in Traverse City. He has passed all the levels. We've said this in his season review. He has passed all the levels of we did do a season review on him, but we've talked about him so much.
We've talked about him a lot, though, so it's understandable that we had.
Yeah, so we talked about this guy so much that it's like we're ready to get him up here. Like, let's give it a shot, especially if we got injuries at the forward position and at the right wing position. Kirill Marchenko is out. Matthew Olivier is out. Like, let's get some young talent in there. And Jordan Dumais is at the top of that list of he needs to get NHL time soon, or at least AHL time, for sure AHL time. Like, he's ready to let's see what he can do there. I'm sure he'll be point a game guy or just under that. Like, he'll be great. That's a guaranteed. And the Cleveland fans deserve it, right? They need some guys to look forward to. Jordan Dumais would certainly do that.
Yeah, I agree. If I had to pick one of the two players, I think I would definitely choose Jordan Dumais to play in the AHL. But I think that's just because of how weak the queue is. I think there's still things that Matechuk can learn from playing in the WHL, especially as a young defender. He is, again, literally 19 years old, and I believe he's a young 19 as well. Yeah, he doesn't turn 20 until July. So he literally just turned 19 a couple of months ago. I'm okay with him going back to the WHL. But Jordan Dumais, I think, it's not that I think he's ready to play pro, but I think him stagnating in the queue will just do more harm. Like, he has nothing else that he can learn in the queue. He put up 140 points this season, more than double a point per game. He was averaging over 2 points a game this season, and I understand why this NHL CHL agreement exists, but also it's extremely, extremely frustrating. And I think if Shane Wright can get this exemption, I don't see why Jordan Dumais can also get this exemption.
I feel like Denton Mateychuk, as much as he needs to go back, that's also frustrating for him too. Between the two players, I still think it is Dumais. But Mateychuk had 129 points in 128 WHL games last year for Moose Jaw. Like, he also probably feels like he's mastered it. But at the same time, Denton Mateychuk plays a really good older brother role. He's been a captain of almost every team he's been on. I saw that came out is that he was the captain of the Traverse City team this year. Like, what? I didn't have him for the captain, but hey, sure. So he's a leader. I would feel bad that he would have to play in that league versus playing in the AHL where he could be making more money. But the truth is he's going to be an NHLer. Denton Mateychuk will play in the NHL. At very least, he'll spend some very good years in the AHL as long as he remains healthy. So I'm excited to get him in here. But I think Jordan Dumais is definitely, especially what he did in the playoffs and the QMJHL, like, he's ready. Like, let's get him up here. It's not even a question. Jordan Dumais need to be up here in the AHL or the NHL even.
I think it'll be good to see what you have in Dumais, because I know a lot A lot of people will look at that point total and go, wow, this is he scored the most points since like Sidney Crosby was in the QMJHL like 20 years ago or whatever it was, which makes me feel ancient, the fact that Sidney Crosby was in junior hockey 20 years ago, but it's fine.
It's been torturing us.
Yeah. So I get the argument that, yeah, he has nothing else to learn in the Q. Put him in the AHL, but I also think that it would be good to see, because a lot of the scouts I've talked to and a lot of the prospect guys are concerned that his game won't translate to the pros. Just the way he plays the game, his style, he relies a lot on playing against weaker defensive players.
I was going to say, that sounds like something.
See how he does, and then do you have a top 9 NHL forward there, or do you have a career AHLer? And if you have a top 9 NHL forward, you can start working on that. You can start getting, start coaching him on specific things. And so that's kind of my argument for Dumais, I think, is you might as well. He's not going to, you will get the same player, exactly the same player next year. If he goes back to the Q, is my guess, is that he doesn't advance in anything at all if he gets sent back to the Q.
Yeah, for those people that say his game doesn't translate, instantly when you say that, it just reminds me of all the times I've heard that about guys like, Artemi Panarin or like Cam Atkinson. Like, not that I was following him when he was at Boston College, but like, I'm sure that has been said about tons of guys that are smaller, undersized. Jordan Dumais is 5'9", 165 pounds. Like, he is on the smaller side. But he's crushed it at like against guys that are gonna be in the NHL. Like QMJHL players will play in the NHL, so he's not doing it against nobodies. There has to be some hockey skill there. It's a very competitive hockey league that a bunch of people in Canada go pay money, good hard-earned money to go to their games. So it's like he's very, like, for people to question the QMJHL is like what am I going to say? Like, I don't know, just their validity, or like, I don't know, just how tough of a league it is. Like the competitiveness in that league, like it's a very tough league, I think. And he's put up a ton of points in it. As you just said, he's put up as many points similar as Sidney Crosby. Like, we got to take a look at him. He needs to get some NHL time. So whenever I hear things about that, I'm just going to push that away.
Yeah. They're two players that I'm super excited to see in preseason. Like, obviously, we're all excited to see Adam Fantilli make his nationwide debut, but I'm going to be looking and paying attention to guys like Dumais and Matechuk and how they play against other NHLers. But I think that's kind of all we've got for today, because we're going a little bit long. Later tonight, like I said at the top of the show, we are going to be doing a happy hour. So if you have questions about prospect or training camp or anything else that's happened this week, it's been a pretty big week for news for the Blue Jackets. I don't know if you've heard. So bring your questions, bring your adult beverages. We will be here live on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Once again, every day, the growth since Mike Babcock got fired, or, quote unquote resigned, has been incredible. Shout out to you guys for sticking around and for, coming to watch all of the episodes and interacting and all of that. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find Hayden at HaydenH971. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. All of that is on Twitter. You can email us at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. On Monday, we will be talking about the split squad preseason games against Pittsburgh, and I'm sure we will have some injury updates, some training camp updates, and some hot takes. So make sure you tune in for all of that. And until then, make sure you stay locked on.